Hi, I am Christa Buthelezi, and I have with me one of my favorite you're still youngish, creatives in South Africa, Mel Mthembu, who has been um, a friend for years now, quite several years.
Yeah, yes,
I've
yes,
had the
yes.
pleasure of watching grow. So, welcome, Mel.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, man.
I
Am I allowed
appreciate
to even call you mom because I see you as a
you
mom
allowed to
too?
call me Ma on camera.
Okay, man. Okay,
If people
perfect.
have
Now I
asked,
feel comfortable.
that's my introduction. I am the editor and curator of Odyssey Magazine and also Ma to many. Um, that's, that's how I should introduce myself.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted to be. I really appreciate you joining me. When we started thinking about focusing our first print issue under our team in March of 2026, based on creativity, you were one of the first people I thought of. So I'm glad that you're here. We're doing this early and we're doing it in very interesting time in your life. We'll get into that in a little bit. But
Yeah.
first, I'll ask you what I ask everyone because I'd prefer that you introduce yourself. How do you introduce yourself now? You wear so many hats. How do you?
So my name is Mel Mthembu, born and raised in Durban, South Africa. I'd like to call myself a filmmaker now. It took me so many years to even get to that point. I've always been shy about titles.
And filmmaker is a hell of a title. That's a title I
Is
want.
it?
I think filmmaker, that's a grown.
um, I'm a creative. I love just exploring art. And yeah, that's just Mel Mthembu in a nutshell. I love creativity as a whole. Yeah.
And what is the name of your production company so that people
So
know?
the name of my production company is called IQS Mel Productions. IQS stands for, it's so funny, it's quite simple.
That was the question coming.
Mel Productions. The reason why I even called it IQS, I just wanted to make simple things. I don't know if it makes sense. I just wanted to make art in a simple way that just made sense to me.
What does
Apparently,
IQS stand for, though?
it's quite simple.
Oh, it's people catch that, so I'm glad I knew that. I'd forgotten.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
quite simple, Mel Productions.
Productions, yeah.
I will brag on you a little bit. That you have been in the time that I've known you, which is I guess probably 6 years or so now, maybe longer. You have gone from doing real estate based films for me and other people to all the way up to commercial advertising productions, and you've been working quite a bit for Netflix lately, haven't you?
Yes, 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 yes. I do quite a lot for them. Actually, everything that people have seen on social media for the past 2 years, promo-wise, it's literally been my hands behind it alongside my team.
Which is incredible. And I know you, like me, are fortunate to have really, really good people behind you. And that takes me back to a conversation we had years ago around my dinner table.
Yeah,
That
I
if
remember very
you know
well.
life is best lived in good company, make sure that you're in good company, and you sure have. And look at how you've flown since then.
Thank you very much. I
So
appreciate my people first and then me.
because would we be here having this conversation? I don't think so. So Odyssey, as you know, is based all around exploring consciousness. I believe, many do, that creativity is a huge part of it's the verb for consciousness. It's the action. Um, what what does exploring consciousness mean to you?
Interesting. Exploring consciousness to me, in my own like understanding, it's just learning to have conversations with yourself more than anything. Just listening to yourself. That's the utmost thing that I always push first. There's always that voice, you know. I'd like to feel that I'm never alone because I have that voice in me that I can have conversations. So that journey for me is just learning to understand that there's a voice in you that you can have conversations with, and just unlocking more and more.
And that you can trust.
That you trust, yeah, like trusting the process type of thing, and just trusting yourself, you know, and opening up your mind to a lot of things, and just having conversations in a very fluid way and neutral way, so that you can either grow yourself or the voice in you. So that's generally how I always look at it.
I joke around, other people joke around about, that talking to yourself is underrated. And I think all creatives talk to ourselves out loud. That's part of
Yeah.
it. We get to be eccentric, right? It's fun. But do you think of that internal voice just as your internal voice, or do you think of it as something external? Where do you think that comes from?
I'm a firm believer of external forces. I literally think I don't walk alone on this earth. There are people that have left, like the universe, as
Mhm.
like, I know those conversations get tricky with a lot of people because of certain beliefs.
You're allowed to say what you believe as much as you
But
so
yeah, I truly believe I do not walk alone. There's a lot of external factors that have led me to become the person that I am, and just acknowledging them gives them the power to always walk by my side and tell me, no, we think this is the direction you should take. If you ever been in a situation where you knew something is gonna not pan out the way it's supposed to go, but you did it, and then at the end
but
you're
your brain tells you this is the right way.
like
So
you felt it, but you felt it deep down in your gut. I always tell myself that external forces are telling you don't do it. So I'm learning by all means.
or to do it, and you don't do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That
You know,
happens even more.
so
Yeah.
I'm learning to listen. I think
Yeah.
that's the voice in me, in more or
That's
less.
that's my point, is it's much more about listening. And
Mm,
whatever you call it, this is a huge part of my work, ancestors, and it's part of the reason I came home to South Africa to be, I think, in a culture that has that understanding of ancestors. And there are different labels for different categories, but we don't have to go deep into it. But what I tell people, because I still work with people across the world, and even people here who were raised in an African tribal culture but grew up in church,
mm,
that I don't consider the two mutually exclusive, and that you can call them, we don't know, is it DNA? Like, we don't know. But think of it as we rise on the shoulders of those who went before us. Think of
mm,
it as
mm,
those whose blood runs in my veins, those whose spirits support mine. However you want to word it, I think it's a basic human thing. I know we both agree that creativity is something that
mm,
people need to be. It needs to be part of everyone's life in one way or
mm,
another. So does this. So it's cool for me to hear you. Thank you for saying that uh,
mm.
so nicely. Is there a point in your life where you sort of woke up, where you became more conscious? I mean, obviously there are often more than one, but is there one that stands out to you?
Um, I think it's always been a sequence of events, you know.
Mhm.
Just always trying to dabble across the realm of creativity, like learning how to play the piano. Like I was always eager to learn something new, you know.
Mhm.
As much as my family was not into the idea of being a creative, like having an older brother that was a chartered accountant. So you already understand, like, mom is like, this is not happening to my
It
son.
ticked the box, and that was the path that you were
you,
going
you
to follow.
know, but one day, so I was doing badly at school in that season. I think it was in grade 9 or 10. I think grade 9, to be honest, doing very badly with maths and physics and all that jazz. So there was a family meeting. Oof, imagine family meeting about me
Hey,
being crazy about art and all that. And then my older brother was like in the family meeting, Mom, you need to let go of Mel and let him do what he wants to do.
Geet.
When he said that, I was like, thank you. There's someone that actually sees the fire in me, the spark.
Yeah.
And at the time, My brother has passed away, so he's always like, like in my heart.
Mhm.
So when he said those words, it was like, I can't believe you see this fire.
At
Thank
14.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, and I'm going to show you that it's possible. Then after that, I never looked back. I literally never looked back. I was, I was still doing badly at school, but excelling in the
But I was okay with it.
So I had to be very rebellious to
Yeah.
become who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And then at the end, mom, now she's very proud. Now she's like, wow, thank God for your older brother.
I look forward to seeing her at the premiere. We'll talk about
She
that.
will be there.
But
She
I
will
will
be.
meet you, Mama, pretty soon. So I am
I
looking.
had to beg her to come through. She's a very shy person. She's like, a lot of people.
I'll
But
take
yeah,
care of her that night a little bit.
I appreciate it. So yeah, it was that moment, the family meeting, my brother saying, let go of Mel.
I want to really, you're bringing up so many points that I think are really important as, I begin to think about this issue and the online content leading up to
Mm,
it. I don't think it's just South Africa, but in South Africa, I really noticed, I was in the very Zulu, very rural setting for years, and then, a
mm,
lot of time in Ananda and, local townships and things like that. And it is very, very evident that there are certain paths that children may take. Chartered accountant is one, teacher
mm,
is another, police officer is another,
of course.
um, nurse, doctor, that kind of thing. And really, there's only like 5 or 6. It's a pretty limited thing.
Yeah.
We live in a country with an education system, particularly for tertiary education, that doesn't allow for great opportunity, a number of opportunities. The numbers
Yeah.
don't match, they don't jive.
Yeah.
Um, and the way the education system teaches doesn't allow for anyone to succeed unless they learn in a basically digest, test, and move
Yeah.
on to something else kind of way.
True.
And it shows in a lot of our systems. Um, Creativity is very inherent to the Zulu culture. It just is. I think it's inherent to the human culture. But it's
Yeah.
very, if you go in rural settings, the place where I lived, you've been there, it was like 2 generations, 3 generations back.
Mm, mm,
You end up, I would go to visit, HIV and AIDS patients, and we'd end up playing drums. Shoot with my camera and wanting to shoot, using the camera to shoot. It was always a big thing. So there's that drive, I think, in so many. Now you have 2 sons, yes?
yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
I'm curious, what do you tell them about when they grow up? How do you, because, really passing matric is becoming, kind of a bar that everyone has to reach.
Yeah, yeah.
Possible, in the future. But how do you coach that to them? How are you changing that narrative about you must do these things and creativities for,
I
festival?
got you. For me, I'd like to think I raise my kids through positivity and love, like extreme smothering them with love and having conversations and reassuring them that they are beautiful, they are the best. I think it all begins there. I think my generation, you just grow up, you know that you have a mom and a father, they love you, they cater for you,
If
but
you were lucky,
you know,
like you don't complain if you had that.
yeah, I think our generation is doing it much more differently, learning how to have conversations. I think it begins there, and positivity and just reassuring them with whatever decision that they want to take or make, I'll surely be there with the positive side of it and just having a discussion, you know?
So not shutting doors before they even
No,
barely open.
no, 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 no. That's the worst thing you can ever do to anyone.
You let them play with your cameras?
No, they're too expensive. Not now.
I don't. I have one, that the teenager uses?
Like I literally bought my son a drone. It lasted for like 2 weeks. I was like, you're so young for this. We'll wait again. But I'm truly
You're
open to
exposing
them.
them, I see. Like you're
Yeah, yeah,
exposing.
like they literally understand video work.
Mhm.
Like they can grasp it. They understand when I'm writing a script.
And
Uh,
that's like a video going from a story on paper to a storyboard, essentially.
mm,
That's great practice for life because
mm,
you go to the grocery store and then you have to
mm,
then
mm,
fulfill the
mm, mm,
list.
mm, mm, mm,
Um,
mm.
there's so many things that I think creativity contribute, on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
Um, so there's so many questions I could ask you, but I really want to talk
Got you.
about
Don't worry. Don't worry.
I,
Don't
what
worry.
I
I
what I
mean,
wanted.
like I'm
I want
literally enjoying this conversation.
Yeah, we'll do this. Isn't that nice? We'll do this again. But
Yeah.
you have at the end of October, so this will get published till after it's already opened, and we'll have another conversation a couple months after and see
No
how it
problem.
went. But you've done a couple short films
Yeah.
prior to this, yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And this new film, iNguquko,
Yeah.
is premiering at the end of October at
Yeah.
Galleria Durban. I will be there with bells on.
Thank you
Uh,
very much.
Tell me, I am so proud not only that you've got I mean, this is fairly full length, isn't film out, and that you pulled it together. And I know you've been working with your team for a long time, but
Mm.
what I'm proudest of is what it's about. Will you tell us about that?
So the film generally just speaks about mental health, the importance of speaking about how you feel, seeking for guidance, seeking for help. There's a big norm, especially in the Zulu culture, of that someone will not speak about their feelings, and then it turns out to becoming something very deadly, always ending up with suicide cases. And me and you know in South Africa, it's a very high number. So I
Or
wanted,
violence towards others, but
you
violence
know,
of
yeah,
sort of.
yes. So I wanted to explore that and just have conversations, that people are not ready to have. And when you watch the film, there's also another story embedded in
Of
it,
course, of
um,
course.
just just speaking about the fact that if you don't speak about the issues that you go through, it ends up becoming a vicious cycle,
Yeah.
a 360 cycle. Like for example, if
Generation.
a generational thing. For example, if I ill treat my kids in a certain way, and I'm a very abusive father towards possibly my wife, they will take that as a norm. They'll grow up thinking that that is normal. And guess what? They'll probably end up doing that behavior.
That's how it
So
works.
iNguquko entirely just speaks about the vicious cycle of not speaking about these things and just ending that cycle of pain, GBV, and alcohol abuse and drugs.
Those are big topics.
I
And
know it's, I know, yeah, and
well,
it was
why not, Tony? Why
Um,
not?
and it was quite easy writing that. Also, my mom has like 7 sisters, they lived Emla, Zika Ego 7. Uh, and like it or not, during those times, back in the day, we used to witness it a lot, GBV across the board. Your uncle is a drunkard, and all that. So it was like, I'd like to revisit that and just write about it, about things that I saw when I was growing up as a kid. So yeah.
It was cathartic then for you as well to bring
Mm,
out.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
yeah. I'm writing a book now about what happened 3 years ago, so I understand in the midst of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is, if we're talking about creativity, I think one of the very cool things about creativity is I'm always talking about reciprocity, and so you grew up seeing this, and then you come out and you talk. Well, first of all, you raise your children, your boys differently, and then you come out and talk about it so that other people can, you know
Mm,
and can understand and maybe raise their children differently. And you'll never know, Mel, how many people's lives you'll change through this. You will never know. And
Mm.
isn't that wonderful?
It
It's
is. It is. It is.
it's a a privilege in some ways, but a responsibility of creatives to talk about the things we don't talk about. And you've
Mm.
done this with
Mm.
this. Um, have you screened it for anyone? Have you had much feedback yet?
Um, I've I've played it for a couple of friends when we're still in the process, of post-production, just to gauge if I'm doing the right thing, is it going at the right place where I want it to go. One thing that I can say, I remember I had like four friends, and then I just played it. The reaction at the end of the film, I know that's probably gonna happen at the cinema, is utter silence. It's it's like it's like one of those moments where you're like, what did I just watch? We have conversations to have. We have conversations to have. Because I remember at the end of the film, my friends were asking me 1,000 questions of why this and this and this. So what happened to that? So this and this and this. I was like, got you. So imagine 250 people in one room watching the same thing.
Cannot wait.
The amount of conversations that people are going to be asking each other of, yeah.
They'll wake up. They'll wake up.
Yeah, so it doesn't have a happy ending where it's like, hooray! It's
Oh,
that's
I'm
all I'm
going
gonna
to
say.
make a note in my diary to bring extra tissues.
But you'll enjoy it.
Oh no, I mean, this is, as you know, I talk about these things. I've lived these things, and
I
I
know.
talk about these things,
Yeah.
and I've lived these things in America, and I've lived these things, in South Africa. I've lived with white people, with black
Mm,
people, and some people in between. So this is, while yes, you're talking about Umlazi, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. But I have
mm,
to tell you, it's not just Umlazi. It's
mm,
Beliton. It's
mm,
Rosebank.
mm,
It's Point. It's everywhere.
mm,
And it's just how well, the bigger the house, the more room to hide.
mm, mm, mm,
Um, so I think this will actually reach many, many, many. And while it is in isiZulu, it is subtitled completely.
yes,
I want to
yes.
encourage people to see it, no matter their amount of
Yeah.
isiZulu. Um, I like both. Both works very well for me.
Thank
Uh,
you.
all right. So you've done this thing. You're talking about what people don't talk about.
Mm.
How does that feel now, before? Because I'm going to ask you again after how it feels afterwards, after people see it.
How does it feel to have done this film?
Mhm.
Is that the
How
question?
are you feeling about it?
For now, at the moment, how does it feel? I can't believe it,
Yeah.
you know, like from just an idea in my mind to putting it on paper to getting a team of like 25, approaching them with the idea and telling them that we don't have funding, but I'll find a way. I'll take my savings, making them agree and telling them
About
in real,
making this film. Yeah.
getting the actors, A-grade actors saying yes to the vision. I'm still shocked. Everyone is still shocked. I'm being like, the fact that the screening is on the 25th, I still don't believe it.
9 days away now.
You
Uh,
know, yeah, I'm still shocked, but
so
excited.
to put it in the framework of consciousness, I often think about this as like either, have you watched like Birds of Prey, when we've been in the bush together, you see the birds of
Mm,
prey and they they glide on thermals in the air. They're not, you know, they catch a wave, so to speak, but in the air, or surfers catching a wave, or fish finding their stream. So to me, that's what consciousness is like. And when you can get to that place and ride
I love that that analogy. Yeah, actually, yes.
that's how it's looked to me from the
It's
outside.
finding your groove and just following the process of where it takes you. I like that.
And trusting. I'm doing the
Yeah.
same thing with the magazine. You know, this magazine landed in my lap 3 months ago, and I'm about to take, you know, I've got 15 days. So this is
Mm.
happening for both of us at the same time.
Yeah.
It's when you, I was talking about this earlier today, and as before we started recording, we were mentioning it. There's this belief, and I'd love to hear your views on this with creative work specifically. There's well, maybe this goes back to your chartered accountant thing. There's a belief that you shouldn't work too much, that work is essentially draining. So you must rest, you must play, you must, you know, no balanced life is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's a belief you really have to, and that working too much is a pulls energy away from you.
Got you. Yes.
What I'm seeing in my life as I go through this recovery process the last few years, and a member of my team has just been in hospital and is recovering. We were talking about this. If you're doing the right work, if you're riding that thermal or in that groove, I find it restorative. And
True.
he's learning that. Do you as well? Like, can you speak to that? Because I think there's some connection with that energy to consciousness.
Um, when I do what I do, the only time I realize that I'm tired is after the job or after the project or after that, you know. But when I'm doing it, I don't know if this is gonna sound crazy. I'm there, but I'm not there. It's like another force is just taking over, and we are having the time of our lives. We are, everything is just flowing until someone says it's a wrap. And then you're like,
Oh,
no, I need to go back to my life.
I'm hungry. Huh.
Oh, I'm hungry. Like, I think I really agree when you do something that you love and you meant for it, it just flows. It never feels like work. It just feels like a vacation out of your own mind. I think creativity for me, it's a vacation out of my own mind. My mind can sometimes get very loud, but when I do exactly this art thing, it's a vacation. So
When
that's
you're
why,
listening and you're in line with, so that voice that you talked about earlier, is that part of this?
yeah, like I've had like a lot of friends on sets, like we'll have a problem, but I guarantee in the midst of that moment, I'll have a solution. And then it's like, but how did you think of it? I'm like, I don't know, but this is how it's going to work.
And you just
You
know.
know, I know it. I've had this conversation 1,000 times in my head, but I've stored it somewhere. If one day, if this happens, I'm going to take that. It's yeah,
I'm
it's a,
I'm finding that with the magazine too. Like I've been in a magazine. If I have one addiction, you know, I've given up everything else. I've had to for health reasons, but if I have one addiction, it's to magazines. I love, you know, very visual, love photographs, photographer, all that. And consciousness is, you know, this being human has been my mission for my whole life, both personally and professionally. And so when it all came together, it was just like, oh, and you know, present issues with getting the website launched with that's the work stuff. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to do
yeah,
this
yeah.
as much in flow, and much of it is. And when you can make decisions from that place, what I'm finding, and I'm curious about your team because I know we both feel really blessed by, you know,
Mm,
not only the people we're working with, but the way they all work together and the way they work with us and the way that flows.
mm.
Because that can be a stoppage. Like I've got a consultant right now that there's an issue with. I'm sure you use outside consultants as well. So he's not part of our team's flow. Do
Mm.
you, you notice that the synergy, how like other people can be pulled into that groove?
Yes, 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 yes. Of course. Just to give you an example of the synergy that we had in the film set, you know, one thing that I can say, it was motivational and inspirational. I say that because having 25 to 30 people with the same vision and them
Desire, like that wanting.
glued to the idea of if there's a problem, we'll all find a solution. Oh, heaven. Heaven on earth when everyone is on the same wavelength of a certain mission.
It is a better high than any substance I know.
Yeah, it's like me and you. Like right now, we're having a conversation as creatives. You get me, I get you. I don't need to try to explain extensively. It's yeah.
It's been like
Synergy.
that since we met.
You know, good energy all the time.
Good energy, yes, definitely.
Mm,
Similar, we both have a photographer's eye, similar outlook, that kind of thing.
mm.
I also think, though, Mel, it's what our calling is, what we're devoted to, which I think for both of us is pretty lined up with, how would you put it? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I put it in a
Our
way
calling is.
that it's lined up because we really care about people. Like we would rather put ourselves number two, but try and see the next person get further in life, assisting them. I think it
Mhm.
all begins there with me and you, just having that heart for people and humanity, like in its own.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a creativity thing to love people?
I, you know, I think it's a certain kind of creativity.
Mm,
I think there are people who create, Mel, in a vacuum where they really need to be alone. They sort of go into the cave or the studio or whatever.
mm.
Not so much probably in filmmaking, that would be really difficult. Although I think, if you went back in time, there are a few.
Yeah.
Uh, but in other realms, certainly writers are probably the other, filmmakers probably over here, writers probably over here, artists, visual artists, photographers. Um, And I will say, when I am photographing, I can, I did portraiture and, very natural stuff for a long time, but I my photos are very different if I do them in company versus alone. They're much more, they're my reflective things. And then there's my, let's capture this, gorgeous light of a person. I, I think, and then there are people, that's an interesting, now you're interviewing me. That's an interesting question. Because well, that's why these are conversations. These aren't
Yeah.
interviews. I've had a couple people saying, well, maybe you shouldn't talk. And that's not what I want. I want this to be just like when we sit around the dinner table.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that I think the shared calling, with the way I would have put it, is that we are very devoted to people waking up ourselves and to other people waking up.
Mm.
Uh, and most people who want that are creative. I mean, if you think about it, but I have a broad, as you do, we have a very broad sense of creativity. And that's one of the things we'll explore in the issue,
Mm.
is that you don't have to be a filmmaker or a photographer or a
Yeah.
professional writer to be creative. Making bread is creative. It used to be part of life.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'm going to turn it on you now, though. Here's what I see. So in the olden days, in the village, whatever, there were different people who were good at different things. There was the herbalist, there was the guy who made the drums and did skins. There were, all of these, bread maker, candle maker, whatever.
Yeah.
So creativity was a part of everyday life for pretty much everyone, because this is pre-industrial age. Everything had to be made, created.
Mm. Mm.
I'm really hoping that some of the changes in the world right now may put us back to that. What do you think that's cost society, that not having creativity just woven into our days? And I was taught that art was sort of for dessert. If I had everything else done, it took me decades to get past this. If I had everything else done, I could create. You were told, no, you must study this and this and this, and then you can make those silly movies.
We, funny enough, I was literally having a similar conversation with an Uber driver. We were just
Conversations too.
Yeah, we were just like having a conversation about career choices and all that. And somehow at the end of the conversation, we ended up with us saying that not everyone is good with books. Not everyone is good with studying.
Many are.
And some people are just good with creativity. I think the world messed up when it was just black and white. It messed up when we didn't give each other opportunities to explore.
Just black and white, meaning, let's be careful because we're sitting here
looking. Oh, black and white in terms of it's either you work or you do this and this.
Yes,
and this.
one or. Either or.
Yeah. Like, it's either you're a 9-to-5er or you're a creative, like, type of thing. But to put it into my context, it's just merely based on people were not giving the chances and the opportunities to explore. And that in itself will create so much resentment in other people's souls, because your soul is just literally fighting to get out of possibly being an accountant. But now your family said you are an accountant. What if you were just meant to become a musician, a pianist? You'd probably be living a beautiful...
Or a gardener.
So I kind of feel like, the world just made it just so direct as to what you need to become. And it takes a certain few to become who they want to become by being rebellious. Like for me, I was told that I have to become a doctor or a teacher, but I was rebellious.
And I was told, because I was a little girl in the 1960s, I was told I couldn't be a doctor. I could only be a nurse. And I had spent time in hospital. I knew it. I want to be a nurse.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Obviously, that limits us individually. And no one person is only one of those things. And look, if you love numbers, and some people are an absolute whiz with numbers, go, we need accountants. Be an accountant. That's great. I have the best accountant in the world. I have a ton of respect for her, and I don't know what I would do without her, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And that's her calling. She's really, really good at that.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm very sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to ask, what advice would you give anyone in terms of finding their path? Because I think this life thing gets tricky in that department, like finding your path.
We get programmed. We get a lot of messages in our heads about all of this. So, overall, just for life advice, I would say, learn to listen. Listen, whether you believe it's listening to your heart, listening to your ancestors, listening to your inner voice. I don't care what you call it. Listen to it. Your brain, I don't think our brains are meant to drive the bus. I think they're meant just to help us figure out, like chimpanzees do, like how do you open the coconut? This tells you really want the coconut and that your people are starving and that there's food in there. This just tells you how to find a rock. I think that's the way it's supposed to be. So that's part of the problem, because you're right. People have so much messaging. And look, it's whether you're male or female, it's whether you're black or white or some shade of brown. It's whether you're in I hate these terms and I think they have to go now, but third world country or first world country, what your religion is, all of those things create it's like a ticker tape of all these. Okay, let's see. I'm a black male from Mlazi, so I can't do this. You know, I'm a
mm,
white girl growing up in the 1960s America. I can't go to South Africa like I wanted to when I was young. It's not safe.
mm,
So there's that. But in terms of actual figuring out what you want to do, and your calling and your occupation are not necessarily, they're not the same thing. Your occupation is kind of like your brain. It's how you help people wake up. We could have, both of us could do that in a whole bunch. We could be Uber drivers and chat. Do it. Uber drivers do that a lot. I ask people to go back to what they did when they were 5 or 6 years old, where
mm,
they spent their time.
mm, mm.
I drew and I made up stories. And bottom line, I think you and I, this is our
Mm,
commonality. Storytellers.
mm, mm.
You were telling stories, I know.
Yeah,
Yes.
I literally had a nickname. They called me Mel Gibson when I was growing up.
I've always wondered, I never would say that to
And that's how it stayed. So it's so funny. So I had this habit of when I tell a story, I would add extra bits just to make it much more
embellish.
interesting,
Yeah.
you know? Until my one friend was like, why do you always add spices to your story? I was there. It didn't happen like that. I'm
But
like,
it could
no, but you have to, you need to cook something to make it interesting. And then that's
nice.
when I started realizing, wait, I'm always having stories in my mind. Like when I'm bored, I'll be chilling back, thinking, and then I'll just create a story outside of nothing. So yeah, actually interesting that you asked me that.
And look, you were observing. I think storytellers, people don't realize. I was told as a child all the time to shut up, that I talk too much. I
Mm,
probably still
mm,
do, but people like what I say now better. The right
mm.
people. And not everyone, that's the other thing to realize, is not everyone's going to like you being who you are or what you think you are. No,
Yeah.
you have to give up. Well, okay, I want to talk about that in a minute and your view of that. Um, but I think, look, you were part of being a storyteller is observing, it's listening and watching.
Mm.
And you, like I, saw a lot of disturbing things.
Yeah.
Disturbing
Yeah.
things happen to us as well.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of disturbing things when we were young. And, I don't know about you, but when I was 6 years old and very skinny and all elbows and knees, I didn't feel like I could do much about it. And it didn't feel very safe to say much about it.
Mm, mm, mm,
Could create stories, but mine were mostly made up stories to make me feel better,
mm. Got you.
which is often true of children. And that's the spice thing too. I
Yeah.
mean,
It is. It is. It is. It is.
how
It
you do
is.
it purposefully, then you did it because, or you knew part of the story you couldn't talk about, so you made up something else. Yeah.
Mm, 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 mm.
So look, now you're taking those stories of what you saw when you were a child and you couldn't address, and look what you've done.
Yeah. Um, a lot of people are gonna watch the film and be like, but I think I know someone like that. I think I know someone like that because I literally write from real life stories and real life people, you know. So it's a film that I know. A lot of people are gonna be like, I know someone like that in my life. I've heard a story like that in my life. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. I often think that people learn best from story. If you think about it, it's
Mm,
been going on for forever, right? Before we had little, as my ancestors called them, boxes.
mm.
Um, do you think that's true?
Can you repeat that again, please?
Do we learn best from story?
Hmm. Yeah, I think we definitely learn from stories. It's 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 how it's been since way back. Mom telling her mom the do's and don'ts. This is what happened in my life. So if ever you get into a situation like this, do not react like that because this is possibly gonna happen. So I literally believe in storytelling and just sharing stories because you never know what your story can provoke and help someone. help them to become a better person, that type of thing.
It seems almost more digestible that way, because a lot of the world right now, for quite some time, has been about controlling people,
Mm,
controlling them through, big things like education, religion, social norms, all of that. We've talked about this, growing up in America, if you are 15 minutes late for an appointment, the appointment's gone. It just doesn't
mm,
happen. So you remember me getting used to Africa time and
yeah,
and learning to cut slack for humanity. I
yeah.
think life in Africa, here in South Africa and other places that I've spent time around Africa, it's a much more human based
I've heard that a lot, yeah, from a
life.
lot of people that don't like live in Africa. They'll be like, yeah, it's much more human
It
based,
is,
centered place. And then it makes me ask myself, what's happening in other, like, what's the feeling of being in America, you know?
in Zingis, you use sometimes the word base to mean like rooted. You
Mm,
know,
mm,
it's rooted more in humanity.
mm.
Um, it is, well, I think that's how first world countries became. We don't want to get me started on colonization. That's not what today is about. But
I
um,
get you. I get you.
you
That's
know
a
how
story for another day.
you know how I feel about all that.
Yeah, I know very well.
And the point is, all of that was a small group of people. Look, the people who look like me in the world are a much smaller percentage, not just here in the continent of Africa, but around the world. And all I can figure out, because I don't understand this mentality, is maybe they got really scared and decided to kind of go
Mm,
went overboard, and in in changing the world. But in order to keep that wealth, the problem is once people have a lot, they want to keep it. I mean, look at what's going on politically everywhere right now.
mm.
So it's not a creative way of life. I don't think you can be controlling and creative. Do you?
No, 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 no. Arts is supposed to be free. It should make you feel free. It's
And
like being a ballet dancer. You just gotta move in a
yeah,
synchronized manner.
yeah. Yeah, you know that, like when I paint, that flow, as you talked about, there's a whole wonderful book by a guy with a name a million miles long called
Mm,
just Flow. And it's well worth, it's a lot of English, but it's well worth reading,
mm,
or seeing quotes from him, because it's just about just that. And when you're trying to control people through whatever, industrial age education was invented as it is today to create people who could sit for 8 or more hours a day.
mm,
Whole thing, that's the education
mm.
system. And I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but it's a lot of it. So creatives, as we both know, don't sit very well for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And I think that it started to make people feel like there's something wrong with us. Did you ever feel like that? Like there was something, or maybe, the school story is that there's something wrong with you because you didn't fit into that square box, the cube that everyone told you you must fit into.
Oh, I think my educational life from until, was the worst season of my life. I barely even remember what was happening. I think I was just on autopilot. Uh,
Like blinders on, kind of
yeah,
get through it.
to just get through it, just get your grades, pass, just get through it because you told if you're here, you have a better chance of getting that and that in life. We were sold more or less a dream,
Yeah, good.
like you'll be successful through school and all that. And that's not the case for everyone.
Well, it's also the numbers don't play there either. There's not the job. People do pretty well in varsity even, and there's not the position. How many chartered accountants can we really use
And that's
on the
and
poor
that's
accountants?
it's a very scary reality that we like live in. Like how many people enter UKZN, DUT, universities across the world, and
Bravo.
they graduate.
Yeah.
And what happens? You know, and I think growing up from the get-go, I always understood that I just wanted to create opportunities like for myself. I never felt the urge to have someone monitor me to get me there to wherever I need to be, you know.
Or tell you every quarter how you were doing and
Like, you
what.
know, it's always been a trust thing to myself that I'll get there. I'll do everything in my power to get there, you know.
You
Yeah.
have, and you have. Look at you. So did you, I'm just going to ask you straight out. Did you go to varsity or did
No.
you finish? I went, but I didn't finish either.
Wait. Oh, I dropped out a lot. Mom was forcing me. I would last for like 3 months. I'll drop out. And then the last dropout that I did, I was doing nursing. I was there for like 2 months, dropped out. Then my mom was like, she's fed up of wasting money. And then she asked me, what do I want? I was like, there's a computer that's 10K. If you can buy me that, I'll pay you back your money in due time. And in the space of like 3 months, 4 months, I paid her back. And then she was like, where did you get them? I was like, relax, wait.
Working.
I'm working on this. But thank you for the computer. And
Can I have a camera now?
like, you know, like I'm actually happy at some point mom just accepted me for my stubbornness and just said, "Ah, you know what, I'm gonna support you now. I'm gonna support your dreams." And I think that was also a turning point of seeing my mom support me and how much power it also gave me to be confident about the craft.
Thank you. This is exactly where I want to head. I believe, as you know, that there's fear and love in the world. Those two things.
Mm,
That's
mm,
it.
mm.
Creativity to me is more love. It can be done in fear, to answer that question you asked me some time ago. You know, if people are doing it out of fear, then it's different. But if it's done out of love, if it's done out of a good place, then and like attracts like, right? So as you let yourself love it, and you know, thank God your mom gave you that chance, and I
Mm,
dedicated this film to her. Then you know, then that could bring love from her, and then as you're saying, that love feeds you,
yeah.
and and love to me is also, you know, consciousness embodied. It's a another name
Mm,
for consciousness.
mm,
So let's let's bring this full circle. The movie, the film, is about mental health. How much does creativity and ultimately being loved for who you are, being seen, your creativity being seen and appreciated, even if it's not financially successful, even if, you know, but being,
mm,
you know, people looking at your photographs and saying, oh, people come
mm.
into your bakery and saying, this is the best, you know, most beautiful cakes I've ever seen. Talk to me about that.
Creativity and mental health and people seeing it and how do I feel? Was that the
Yeah,
question? Like more or less.
creativity, what do you think creativity's connection to mental health is? Let's start there.
For me, foremost, creativity is a stress reliever for me. Like as I said in the beginning of the conversation, when I create, I get a sense of feeling as if I'm on a vacation, you know. I feel as if I'm one with the universe. I feel as if it's a special thing to have an idea in your mind and see it manifest into a physical form or what, like, you know.
A
For
visible form,
me, yeah,
tangible.
yeah, yeah. So for me, it's therapy. You know, I'm just fortunate enough that my my type of therapy is able to put a roof over my head now.
That happy news.
You know, the fact that you know that I can afford certain things like rent through art is the most wildest thing like in my mind that I never thought was possible. So imagine getting the luxury of doing exactly what you love and understanding that it gives you a sense of peace in your mind when you're doing it. So creativity for me is therapy. Yeah, we do get stressed out there and there getting a creative block, but it's the building blocks of creating. It's never easy. Rome wasn't built in a day, like as they say. So, so yeah, that's creativity to me. Like linking into like mental health. For me, it's therapy.
Yeah. And watching your face as you've talked throughout this hour or so,
Mm.
talk about being in school. Your face closes down, those being unaware, being
I
and
hated school.
stress is fear, right? Stress is on the fear side of things, right? So
Yeah, yeah, it was so stressful.
and then your brother saying, you know, telling your mother to let you be, that you don't need to be something that you're not. You need to be who you are.
The
Bless
most iconic moments of my life.
bless his soul. And that's got to make its way into a story you tell on film someday. And please. And then even in the time I've known you, it's very, very odd, and I'm a hell of a lot older than you, but I think we both look younger than we did several
Mm,
years ago.
mm. Yeah.
And I would say we are both much more ourselves than we were 7 years ago. You were making money through art, but you were scrounging for it and you did not have creative control
Yeah.
to a big extent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it was what do they call it? Putting in your 10,000 hours,
Yeah, yeah, true, of course.
you
Um,
know.
on the job training, kind
Yeah,
of,
on the job training, literally.
which also didn't have the team that you have now. And
Yeah,
I did.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's something I've been really realizing lately.
yeah,
Do you
yeah,
think
yeah.
that changed things?
A lot, rapidly. Um, Having the right people around you. So just to give you a backstory, I created this rule, not a rule, but a suggestion in my team that you're not allowed to say no. You add on the idea to make it better. So if so for
Not now,
example,
not now.
if I say Ma, I have this
Yeah.
idea of creating a film about kids in Wentworth, their daily lives.
Mhm.
The first thing that you're gonna say, you're gonna be like, okay, cool, yes. What if we add this and this and this and this? Instead of you shutting down an idea, always build yourself to be able to build on someone's idea to make it better so that you're also excited about the
I have the same rule for myself,
idea. Gotcha.
but I do find myself saying, especially to kids and things, is not now.
Mm,
Or, to clients and things, you can have everything. You can do everything. Not just not all at the same time necessarily.
mm.
So let's look at this as a bigger picture. Let's blow up the lens. I think that's an excellent practice. And that kind of could be the answer to what I'm going to ask you next, but let's see if you've got anything else in you.
Okay.
What would your advice, there's a young man or young woman in Chatsworth who's in high school getting ready to get out. Everyone's pushing varsity.
Yeah.
They want to create, say they're a musician. What would be your advice to them?
Um, the biggest thing is what do you truly want? Deep down, when you're alone, you're manifesting, you're daydreaming. What is that one thing that you want? Ignore the noise that the world is creating. Just block out your mind. Yeah, I know there's a lot of information on the internet now, social
Yeah,
media, there's a lot of
yeah,
voices. But when you're alone in bed, when you're about to fall asleep, what is that one thing that you always think about that makes you smile, that if I could get there, I think that would be my biggest advice to you as that person listening or watching. What is that that you really want? Because if you get that right, the sky is the limit. Even when you're having issues during that path, to that journey, you're going to be having fun. Even if there's issues there and there, but your mind is going to be glued to the idea that I'm headed there to what I really love. There's a lot of miserable people doing things that they don't want to do.
Oh, so many of society's ills, as you were saying, with the film, so much gets perpetuated and pushed onto other people in violent ways, and sometimes in less violent but controlling ways.
Yeah.
Often out of love, but it's really out of fear. They're worried, about their child's. I think the world would be. I think a lot of people don't know what they want now, and
Mm,
probably creatives are more conscious on levels that other people maybe aren't, and
mm,
at least know what they want, focus on it. Why put all your energy on what you don't want?
mm.
And
Another
work
thing, Emma,
on
that I just like want to add on, and I think it's very important that I add this to what I was saying. Um, some people are not fortunate enough to follow their dreams, and I'm very aware of that. The secondary advice is that do what you gotta do to maintain what you need to maintain, but also have time to also follow the path that you truly believe in and want. Not everyone is fortunate enough. Not everyone comes from a family that they could just be told, okay, we'll buy you a computer. Let's see like what you can do. Just keep at it and just don't forget your inner child dreams.
that's the just no matter what you don't, I grew up with very little and left home at 17.
Mm,
So I know what it's and barely survived for quite some time.
mm,
Um, I think that's the key is don't give up on dreaming. Dreaming doesn't cost anything. It costs
mm.
absolutely nothing. And I think if more of us let ourselves dream,
Yeah,
the world would be
yeah,
a very different place.
that's very true, man.
Mel, I love talking with you. We'll do this again in a few months after
Okay, man.
film's been out and I want to hear from you on the other side. Um, and thank you for taking the time now. I really appreciate it.
Thank
And
you very
I
much,
look
man.
forward to seeing the film in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much.